Here is this 7-year-old lost their life because their parents let them get to 255 pounds. They weigh more than me. It's crazy.
On
Allegedly.
the day
I
that
don't know
young
though.
boy was found living in conditions that police say were so
I
horrific
ain't
they
never even heard of
quote
that before.
cannot be accurately described in words. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. £255. Let's face it, that is a weight that's considered heavy by adult standards. But a 7-year-old
Weighing the size of like a linebacker. That's NFL linebacker. Heavyweight fighter weight right there. That's absurd. Super heavyweight.
you just continue to ask yourself, how is that even possible? The average weight, by the way, for a 7-year-old boy, it should be between 50 and 55 pounds. 7-year-old Casper O'Brien, though, should be known for so much
Wow.
more than just the way that he died and his weight at the time that he died, which has made this such a national story. There's no question that 7-year-old Casper faced a lot of challenges in his life from the moment he was born. He was
Casper.
diagnosed with autism, his family says, and they also say that he was nonverbal. But his obituary, and this is important, it says that Casper was a bright, loving young boy whose joyful spirit touched everyone around him. An important
Right? Ain't that the name of the ghost, bruh? Casper.
note with that obituary is that it also reads that he is survived by his parents, Jessica and Damien. And the context there is the obituary was written shortly after Casper passed away on November 4th, 2025. And there's a lot that has changed since then because Jessica and Damien are now
Chill, but that was the mom, bro. Bro, what the fuck? Bro, I thought that was the dad for a second. Chill. It looked like she had a beard or some shit, bro. Am I tripping, bro? I swear it looked like she had a beard. Then this shit don't want to go. Oh well.
accused of killing young Casper. You may have already seen the headlines in this story.
They both big as shit too, though.
255 pounds, and the questions about how that was even possible. But the police report that we have, that I'm about to share with you, gives details that make this story so much more difficult because I'll tell you what allegedly Casper's parents said when police arrived at the house and what their alleged excuses were
250
for not just the
pounds.
state of the home, but the health of their 7-year-old son.
I don't think you know how much food you gotta eat to get to 250 pounds at 7 years old. Like, forget about reaching 250 pounds at 7. This is like Guinness World Record levels right here. Cause like, you know how hard it is to reach 250 pounds as an adult. You gotta eat a lot. Like people that like really morbidly obese, they eat like 3 plates of food in a sitting. Like they just breathe food down. So for this to happen to a child,
Dying corona for a 7-year-old male, 7, not breathing. Sounds like they're getting CPR started. E26 en route from downtown.
Police were called on that day in November in the morning
they
to a
was
house
feeding
in
them Mountain
Genesee
Dew.
Township, Michigan, specifically Flint Township. And as you read through this police document, you find that officers really had a hard time finding the words to accurately describe what they reportedly saw inside. So we found the call from November 4th in Genesee County that sent officers.
This does look trashy enough from the outside. There's trash right here. There's trash in chairs. Trash right here. Just the carriage is just standing outside. Hey, bugs could get on the carriage and shit. Y'all just be leaving the carriage outside. I don't know. I don't got no kids, bro. Y'all really do that? They got them little jumpy bugs out here. They could just make a whole festival on that motherfucker. And then the grill is rusty as shit. Lord, it look like you could. It look like it stink, but let's go.
To the home of the O'Briens. Now, inside the house, Casper was not breathing. Police write that they get to the home just before 9 in the morning, and Jessica O'Brien said that Casper had been breathing that morning around 8:30. But then 15 minutes
Sheesh.
later, she went to check on him, and he was no longer breathing, so she called 911. One of the first officers who entered
Collapsed
the home writes,
lung
quote,
at
"I observed
7.
extreme hoarding conditions. There was trash on the floor throughout the residence. It was so extreme, I could not tell if there was carpet or wood floors." Police, and I noticed this as you read through, it's a 16-page police report. And each narrative from the, I think, about 5 officers who write what they encountered that day, they really had a hard time finding the words to describe what they experienced when they went into this house. There's one officer who writes, quote, "The residence was absolutely disgusting and can't be accurately described in words." Another officer said, "Upon entering through the front door, I observed the living room completely covered in trash, including numerous stacked garbage bags." Then, in the summary of one statement by an officer, they write, quote, "The residence was overwhelmingly cluttered and unsanitary with large amounts of trash and poop throughout, which emitted an overbearing and foul odor. Furthermore,"
I knew it stunk. It looked like it stunk just from the outside. That's probably why the carriage was outside, because it stinks so bad inside. That is crazy.
there were abundant insects throughout the entirety of the residence. This home was a mess, and that is putting it lightly. And inside, as they work their way through the trash, police say, they encounter Casper O'Brien, this young boy who was unresponsive. They were allegedly doing CPR on him, Casper's family members, specifically his uncle. But police end up rushing Casper to the hospital, and he is pronounced dead before noon on that day. And according to the local medical examiner, Casper's cause of death was dilated cardiomyopathy. So I looked that up. I'm obviously not a doctor, but the National Institutes of Health says that it is heart disease, and it's associated with people who struggle with obesity. And to my understanding, your heart enlarges, and it's almost stretched too thin to be able to pump blood effectively. Casper's heart, it was just too weak to continue working. Now, police end up speaking to both Jessica and Damian O'Brien.
This is criminal. They deserve the jumpsuit. It's really evil though to feed your kid to death. Like, you sitting in jail and knowing this country, damn the cat, bro. The cat done moved this.
Separately, based on what's been alleged, you hear a lot of excuses for the state of the home and the health of their son. They have a 5-year-old daughter also, by the way, who was found inside the house, and police allege that her fingernails were dirty and her hair was knotted and tangled, and she also had a bad cough, which police were concerned about her health. And when you think of everything that was potentially in the air with the descriptions we're getting from inside the house, that is a major concern. The story that the O'Briens give about Casper's day-to-day is nothing short of heartbreaking. Jessica told investigators that Casper was mobile, but she also said he spent 12 hours a day in his bed. So let's face it, he was bedridden for most of the day. His mother told police that Casper's diet
A 7-year-old that stays in the house for 12 hours is actually insane. Like, when I was 7 years old, a punishment for me was you can't go outside. They know I used to love going outside so much that if I messed up in school or I got a phone call home, my punishment was you can't go outside. I remember one day my folks did do some fucked up shit. They told me no dinner, go upstairs. I forgot what I did. I pissed them off that day. The no dinner fake hurt worse. I'm not gonna lie.
of a daily large bag of potato chips, a large French fry, carbonated sugar water that's called ice, and apple juice. Jessica O'Brien also said that all Casper wanted to do was eat because of an undiagnosed eating disorder. Now remember, Casper's only 7 years old and he's nonverbal. Now police say he had not seen a doctor in 2 years, and they allege that Jessica never really made an effort to take Casper to a doctor, but they also say, and this is important when you think of how the criminal case could play out, they allege that she could have. And we'll talk a little bit more about how that factors into all of this in a moment. Now, Casper reportedly didn't bathe for approximately 6 months. His dad said he would allegedly clean him with wipes roughly 3 times a week, and he said that Casper didn't like water, but they did have a working
shit like he a cat or something. Talk about what the fuck? Over here wiping him down. See, they said 6 months, bro. 6 months. And y'all was still feeding him. You ain't let him go outside. Wow. Just wow. I'm speechless. Like, wow.
So there's another example of something that could have been done, and the resources were there to do it, but they didn't, according to police. What police say they found when they examined Casper's body at the hospital is really disturbing, so I'm going to give you a warning of that before we get into it.
Warning.
Police say that the bag that Casper was in after he was pronounced dead had a concerning smell, but it was not the smell of a body decomposing, but, quote, poor hygiene and filth and possible infection. Quote, Casper appeared to not have been bathed for an extended period of time. Dirt, dead skin, and unknown buildup was...
Cousin didn't take a shower for 6 months. I mean, it's not surprising to have an infection. To make it worse, if he would have went outside and ain't take a shower for 6 months, he probably would have been a little healthier. I'm not gonna lie. But to not go outside for 6 months and to be dropping feces in the crib and all types of stuff, and then gorging yourself down in food and eating in the same room with the feces and all of that type of stuff, right? I mean, you're asking for problems, to be honest with you.
observed all over Casper's body.
The parents
Casper
is
had long
hell.
hair that appeared extremely dirty and began to dreadlock in several areas, indicating that it had not been brushed in
Hey,
a long
shawty.
time. Casper's fingernails were very long, unkept, and filthy. Upon examining Casper's skin folds and armpits, the officer writes, I observed redness and open sores that appeared to be infected with redness and swelling around the affected areas. It also says, quote, I observed some of the worst open sores and rashes I have ever personally witnessed. Casper's disposable brief diaper was soiled with dry feces
What?
and urine. Upon removing Casper's brief, he had deep red rashes with open sores to both of the backside of his legs, thighs, and buttock that also appear infected with redness.
Bro, diaper at 7 years old, and you're not like special, like needs or something, or like no medical problems. Like you just like you the gluttony is just so steep in the household that you extended your gluttony onto your child. Cause the kid ain't know no better. His parents was two fat asses. I'm gonna be honest. Just gonna be straight up with it. They was two gluttonous people, and they put their gluttony onto their child, and they made their child think that gluttony was normal. So in that pursuit, he became this, whatever this is, and it is crazy. This is honestly crazy.
And swelling around the affected areas. Now, these injuries and Casper's alleged conditions, these do not happen overnight. I want to show you this picture here. This is on Jessica O'Brien's Facebook page that we found, and it's a picture from 2022. It's unclear how things got so bad.
But what
in
was they
this
feeding
house,
him?
Allegedly, as you just take a look at Casper
What?
there. Obviously a big kid, but again, at the time he passed away, we were talking about 255 pounds, according to police.
They ain't showing none of the recent pictures. All these pictures had to be around. He's not even 5 years old, if that. 5 at the max in these pictures. I doubt it though. He looked like a 3-year-old, a huge 3-year-old, bruh. I'm not gonna lie to you. Damn, they look like chill, bruh.
Now, as far as Damian O'Brien, the dad, is concerned, he told police that his son, he thought, weighed 170 pounds, which, look, that would still be huge for a 7-year-old. But again, 255 is the number that police say he weighed at the time that he died. There's one other thing that I really noticed in the narrative that's been laid out by police, and it's that Jessica O'Brien told them that one of the family dogs had a stroke the night before Casper died, and she got up that morning to make a vet appointment. Think about that.
Bro, she looks like a dude, bruh. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, wow. This is crazy. I think she got a beard. Lord. I don't even know.
Dog allegedly has a health issue. So the first thing she does, call the doctor for
that's
that
her?
dog. And
Yeah, that's her. She the only one that's not redacted. Yeah, she's huge, bruh. I'm not gonna lie to you. They just put that gluttony onto the child. Cause she got what, like That two cakes right there. Wow.
Her son hadn't seen a doctor in roughly 2 years. Police say she didn't even know who Casper's pediatrician was. This was a boy who had serious medical issues. Jessica and her husband, though, apparently they went to the doctor plenty. Court records state that Jessica said that she and Damien would go to the doctor regularly, and her most recent appointment was the month before her son died. On top of that, she says that Damien's job, which was working in IT, it came with good health benefits with a copay of just $20. Now, when asked why she did,
And you didn't take your son to go get yearly checkups? My mom used to drag me to the yearly checkups. I was forced to go. And then playing sports, you have to go get a physical. And you know they didn't think about putting their kid in the sports or whatnot. But at the least, oh my gosh, if you're gonna get your kid that big, at the least you could do is take them to the doctor, right? So then they could tell you to stop. Hopefully they take the kid away from you, but it's America, so they're probably not gonna take the kid away from you for stuffing them like this. And then the worst part about it is nobody knew they was stuffing the kid up like this because they kept the kid inside. If they would have sent that kid to school, all types of phone numbers would have been called. Like, Lord.
take her nonverbal autistic son to a
Like-
doctor, police say inconvenience was
I don't mean to pause again, but like the average elementary school teacher is a woman. Okay? So for a woman to see one of their 7-year-olds, that's like around first or second grade, to come in to class weighing more than their husband, more than likely, and her combined maybe, if so. You're gonna think to yourself, what is going on? I'm not going to, they actually might faint, okay?
She didn't like the fact that she would have to go and wait in a waiting room for a long time, then see a doctor, and then after 5 minutes, the doctor would say her son was okay. She also told police that she had a distrust of doctors because she claimed she was sexually
Wow.
assaulted by a doctor. Now, look, I am not one to deny whether anything
Oh, she look gross, bro. I'm sorry. Like, Lord.
like that ever happened. And it is certainly unclear if that is the truth. But even if it is the truth, remember, she saw a doctor just the month before her son died. Casper died in November. And for months, the investigation continued. And then,
Bruh.
on June 23rd, police
Look at
arrested
these two.
Jessica and
Look at him. Look worse than Shrek. He like Peter Griffin times 2. Like, gosh. This is honestly crazy. No chin. The chin just turned into the neck. Just bubble faced. Eyes slanting, going these ways and shit. Like, once you get so big that your eyes is going 2 different ways and shit, like, they can't even, like, you can't even keep the structure and dexterity of your face together. Like, dude, we got problems.
Damien O'Brien. Police say that Damien did not speak to police and he asked for a lawyer when they went to arrest him at their home. As far as Jessica, she did speak to investigators. Police say in an interrogation they showed her pictures of Casper's body, and Jessica allegedly claimed that the sores on Casper's backside were only there for a month. They note that originally she claimed that they were only there for a couple.
Bro, she got a beard, bruh. What? Wow, I just keep saying wow. Like I'm really just like I'm lost for words, bro. This is happening?
Days. She then said that she had no idea that Casper had rashes on his body. This family allegedly claims that they had given Casper some sort of bath with wipes. Well, not really a bath.
Bro, that's him, bro. Chill, bro. Yeah, they did that kid foul. They need to go sit in jail for a while. Like 15, 20 years, 25. Me personally, I'd say don't let him out because this is heinous. But people are going to say that's too harsh. They change person. But me personally, if you do something this heinous, I think you deserve to go sit in jail forever. To be honest with you, that's just me, though.
would clean
Shit.
his body
This
with
is
wipes
sick.
multiple times a week. But then Jessica said that Casper didn't like being wiped, so she only wiped his body quickly. And, quote, Jessica stated it wasn't as much wiping as she would have liked. Now, police then pushed back on Jessica saying that she was unaware of the health issues that her son was having. Quote, I then asked Jessica, did you ever think of how much pain Casper was in? Jessica replied, quote, no, and I probably should have. I then asked Jessica, why do you say that? Jessica replied, just seeing this now, I didn't know it was this bad. I
What?
didn't know it was that bad. I was
Bro,
so
how horrible of a mom do you gotta be to not notice how bad like a sore rash is on your 7-year-old? When I was a child, my mother used to check my body aggressively, very vigorously. She used to lotion my body as a child. Like literally, I remember getting ringworms from playing in the dirt. Like I didn't even know what ringworms was. She noticed it. She went to go get ointments or creams and fixed the shit right up. And you have this woman who literally has her son that she fed to obesity, to morbid obesity. And you talking about something you ain't know he was hurting. And
depression that it just. I then summarized that Casper hadn't received a bath or shower in over 6 months, only white baths 2 to 3 times a week. I then summarized medical opinions from medical records. I then asked Jessica, how mobile was Casper? Jessica stated Casper was still mobile, but he would lay in bed for approximately 12 hours a day. Jessica was then asked if her and Damien ever discussed their concerns for Casper's medical state and the condition that he was in. Jessica stated, quote, no, we were falling apart at that point. His drinking had gotten really, really bad, and we weren't really communicating, and I was basically taking care of the kids on my own. She alleges
more?
that Damien has a drinking problem. On top of that, she allegedly admitted that financially, they were in good shape because Damien makes decent money, and they both get prescription
From
drugs
what?
to help control their diabetes. So you're seeing their
they both got diabetes too. I bet you it's not type A too. It's probably type 2, most likely. I'm 99.99999% sure about that. Look at their necks.
are being handled inside the home, but allegedly their son, who weighed 255 pounds at the age of 7, who was autistic and nonverbal, he did not get medical care, according to police. Casper also did not go to school, so he was out of the view of adults who may have been able to help before it was too late. Casper's parents said that they wanted him to attend a school for children on the spectrum, though it is unclear whether any steps were actually taken to make that happen. Michigan prosecutors don't see what happened to Casper, though, as just an act of child abuse or neglect, even though allegedly it certainly is that. They are calling this murder. Jessica and Damien
Yeah,
are
this is
charged
murder.
with second-degree murder, torture, and 3 counts of second-degree child abuse.
Yes.
One of the child abuse charges,
Yes.
by the way, is related to the health and safety of Casper's 5-year-old sister. We told you already that police had concerns about her, and they say she was, quote, morbidly overweight and dirty. The attorney...
I've been saying that for 5-10 minutes. These is morbidly obese people, bro. How?
Ryans are slated to be in court on July 2nd. Casper was 4'2" at the time of
Oh
his
my
death, which
gosh.
makes his body mass index 71.7. And according to the CDC, a 7-year-old's BMI should be 16. Join us out.
Cuz. So they said he was about 6-7-year-olds, my nigga. 6-7-year-olds in a circle playing Ring Around the Rosie, Pockets Full of Posy. That's how big he was, apparently. They deserve that jail time, bruh.
More about this case is retired detective
This is like
Commander
worst
Wilson
parenting
Lamar.
of
I
the
just keep thinking with
2000s.
you
It's
and
up
the
there in the top
background,
5
it's
for
just like
sure.
How, like, for the parents
What?
and the police records that we have, acting as if nothing was wrong, they were surprised. I mean, you have people who have worked, I think it's the medical examiner that says these are some of the worst sores I've ever seen, like on a body, and it's just really hard to comprehend all of this. But what do you make of this being now a second-degree murder case?
They
I think
deserve
that's an
it.
appropriate charge. And
Yeah.
I think they had a way to log that charge until the ME came up with the ruling. 255 pounds.
That's
at
terrible.
7 years old. How could that even be?
Right.
It's almost like what comes to mind, and it's gross to think about this. It comes to mind is how they feed the geese when they do the fall gras.
Exactly.
Almost like you're just funneling food into this poor kid's
Is
mouth.
that I said this earlier in the video? Like to get to 250 pounds as an adult, bro. To not be like no sumo wrestler or nothing, no weight NFL player or some shit like that. And you're not over 6'3", bro. To get to that weight, bro, you have to inhale food. I'm trying to tell you right now. If you're under 5 feet tall to get to 250 pounds, you have to inhale food as an adult. So imagine a child, bro. Imagine a child. Like,
The neglect charges were easy. They just had to take one look around the place, the condition of the place, the condition of the other child that was found there. That's easy. But the second degree murder charge, you had to wait for the ME, and it's appropriate.
and a quick little note mark for what I said earlier. Just quickly. If you're over 6'3", or over 6 foot, it's easier to reach over 250. Those people, y'all have your own problems to worry about. I'm not talking about y'all. I'm talking about the people under 5'5" and 5 foot under, okay? Y'all have y'all passes.
100%. And you just think of like what stood out to me in a lot of the police reports is how, especially Jessica O'Brien, the mom, allegedly admits that she had seen a doctor as recently as last month. She admitted that they had health insurance, $20 copay, because her husband has, what they describe as
Got
he
the
works
lazy
in IT,
eye.
so that's like solid work that he has with health benefits. She said that there were no financial constraints on the family. Like this was not a situation where you say, well, the family fell on hard times. Like she said, money was coming in. And then on top of it, the part for me is she that morning says the night before the dog had a stroke and she was going to call the vet. And it's like, here's a dog having a health issue and she's calling a veterinarian, but then her son is at this incredible weight and has a ton of health issues, and yet he hadn't seen a doctor for 2 years. How does that, when it comes to, and kind of I list all of that to like ask the question of like, when you're trying to prove that this was not just a neglect case, that this was far worse than that, how do those details factor into the argument you can make in talking to a prosecutor if you're an investigator about what you found?
Here's what comes to mind to me: wanton and willful. The behavior on those parents is wanton and willful. You don't put a kid in school. They said he was nonverbal and autistic. Never had him diagnosed. The other child is also morbidly obese and wandered around.
Bro, they didn't put him in school because they knew the teachers would have called the police. They would have called Child Protective Services. They would have sent him to the nurse. All types of stuff. And they would have got exposed right there. And then once somebody gets that big, and then like it's the parents that enabled them, they kind of have this habit to like scream for the food, like you create a monster in a sense. So they just kept feeding them.
This is intentional behavior by these parents, and you have to talk about the intentional part of the behavior.
And that's probably door dashing.
Torture was on one of the charges. Now, torture, what could that be? Could that be force feeding this kid? I think it could be.
But I want to see their DoorDash receipts, bro.
Wanton and willful. And because there is another charge. In Illinois, there's a charge of child neglect resulting in death, but it's not murder. And if you go forward with the murder charge, you take into consideration that the ME saying these are some of the worst bed sores I've ever seen. And they've seen a lot of them, especially when you deal with like elderly in nursing homes that don't get moved and things like that. So I think the prosecutor has a strong case, and I think law enforcement put together a good case to say it wasn't just neglect. It wasn't just not paying attention. It was willfully keeping the kid from a doctor.
Yeah, she really got a whole beard. I got to keep harping on it. This is gross. I bet it's just from being fat, too. Her hormones are so out of whack from being morbidly obese that she grew a beard. In 2026, fellas, we seeing it, and the ladies too, for the ones that catch it. We seeing this in 2026, real time. Ladies and gents, wow.
Not providing the kid a atmosphere or an environment where he could thrive or even get better. So I think that charge is appropriate, and again, this is what you have to prove.
Got more facial hair than me.
Behavior.
It also stood out to me that the story seemed to change a little bit. The police made note of that in the report, where she was somewhat aware of some of the health issues that Casper had when it came to some of these rashes and sores. And I guess initially she had said, oh, I think they were there for just a couple of days. And then for a medical examiner to look at that, like those aren't things that just show up over 24 hours. And then when she is being interrogated this month, she said it was more of a month. And I know it's been several months since all of this took place, but like the story starts to change a little bit there. She also alleged that at one point in her life, she was sexually assaulted by a doctor, and that led to her having a distrust of doctors. I'm not.
This one of the worst moms ever. The dad is a piece of shit. 10,000% a piece of shit. But bro, as a mother, how do you feed your kid to the heaven gates? Like, as mom? Like, as a mother? Wow. Like, she up there with Casey Anthony. And it's like, I don't know who's worse. Because Casey Anthony was heinous at what she did. But this might be even worse. Because she stayed there with the kid. So who knows?
Say whether or not that actually happened, but she herself saw a doctor last month, she said. And then on top of that, and this was infuriating, she said she really just didn't want to go to the doctor because you wait in the waiting room for a long time and then you see the doctor for 5 minutes and they say your son's okay and then goes home. Like the fact
wasn't
that
gonna
the
say
story
that.
changes so much does not look great for her as well if all of that is true.
The only story that never changes is the truth. When the truth is always the truth. When you start seeing the changes in the story, you're seeing justification of bad behavior. She talks about, well, the kid's filthy because he never liked water, so I wiped him down with baby wipes. Come on. And on top of everything, I don't trust doctors. Why is he 255? I don't care if you don't trust a doctor. Why is that kid 255?
Oh, shit.
And how did we miss it? Where do they live? And what type of neighborhood?
How is that even possible? I'm still trying to figure out how is that possible. I've never seen it before. Ever.
Nobody sees this.
I'm talking, that's as big as
Nobody
the
wonders
big
if these kids
linemen.
are
When I played football,
grandparents.
they weighed
The
250.
kid went to the doctor.
Big boys.
So they're mandated reporters at the doctor. But again, the kid was 150 pounds lighter 2 years ago.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like the weight and like people watching this episode are like, dude, we probably get it because like I'm just saying it's so hard to comprehend. I mean, 255 pounds is an NFL linebacker. This kid was 7 years old and he was 4'2". And it's just you do see some pictures.
I never seen this video too. This live reaction.
2023 on Facebook, and he looks
Frying
like a
me.
big kid, but he doesn't look like that weight number that's been alleged in this case. And so like there is part of this of like you hear some of the or read some of the excuses in the police report, and it's like, oh, I probably should have done a
Bro,
little bit.
250 pounds at 4'2" is an insane weight. Have you ever hit somebody that weighs 250 pounds with your whole body weight? Like, I remember I ran into this huge football player during practice. I ended up knocking him on the ground, right? It was a crackback play. He was coming. He was a DN. He's lined up. He's going to chase the quarterback. I was playing slot receiver. They motioned me into the DN. He doesn't know what's happening. He didn't know what the play was. Soon as they hiked the ball, he was such a good player. He's rushing in. He doesn't see me. I crack him from the backside, right? Blindside him. I had to put my whole body force into that hit. He weighed a little more than 250 or at 250. This is in high school, bro. I put my whole body weight into that hit. And I was hurt. I ended up falling into the ground. And when I hit this guy, it literally felt like running into a wall. Like, I literally felt all the force from my body go into this guy. I literally stopped dead in my motion. And I felt all the force from my body transfer into his body. And he ended up falling, thank God. If not, I would have been ashamed of myself. But when I tell you I was in so much pain, that shit hurt, okay? That shit hurt. And for him to be having that much weight and shit at 7 years old, at 4'2".
Here, oh, I wish I had known what was going on. And it's like you cannot, and I'm sure for a jury, if this was to go to trial, they will see a picture of his body. Like, it has to be way more shocking than any image that is out there right now to understand how someone that young would weigh that much.
32 years on the police department working murders, most of those 32 years. I've seen a lot of things. I never saw anything like
Nobody
that.
ever did.
I mean, I've seen neglect cases, I've seen abuse and baby murders, but I have never seen anything
Nobody
like this.
You're not the only
When
one.
it comes to some of these hoarding cases, because it was also apparent that the smell in this house was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, one officer wrote he couldn't tell if it was wood floors or carpet because it was just that dirty inside of this house. Like as someone, like when you have responded to a hoarding case like that, like I know the smell must be terrible and like you're just kind of taking it in, but like what are some of the things in so much chaos that you're looking for to gather evidence? What's it like to gather evidence in an environment like that?
I mean, it almost.
A side note though is nobody did a wellness check for this kid. Nobody from the school sent, "Hey, what happened to this child?" Nobody called. No auntie or nothing. No wellness check. No grandparents. Nothing. For real, bruh.
You think about insect infestation, rodent infestation, and you have it. I assure you.
You know how
have
many
it.
wellness checks saves
You
lives?
can't move. The inability to move around. There's fire hazards. There's all these things that you do document. You write all this stuff down to build your case, and you photograph it and you videotape it, and it's all things that lead to the injurious environment. And that is, I mean, I've had a couple of cases where it took us a minute to get to the victim because you had to climb through garbage.
Man, and it's just yeah, and it comes across that there was just you just wonder how even people. Apparently, there were 4 dogs in the house too, which is
Oh, Lord.
You know, and then there was the mom, the dad, and then
That was just, I was thinking it earlier. I don't know why, but like these type people, the hoarder type, they usually have pets. I don't know why you have a pet if you're a hoarder. Like even dogs, they're not as like cleansy as cats and shit, but even dogs don't want to be inside the dirty ass house that stinks. You know how strong an animal's nose is, and the last thing I doubt they want to be in is a literal like cage of shit, basically, because that's all they're gonna smell, bro. That's all they're gonna smell. The nose strong as shit.
who is not facing charges, but you have to wonder what his level of awareness was of what was going on. But again, no charges there as of yet. And then Casper had a 5-year-old daughter who is also, or a sister, excuse me, and there is a neglect charge related to her condition because it was not something that police say was healthy either. Moving forward, like looking at the timeline it took to get to this point, so Casper O'Brien dies on November 4th, 2025. His parents are arrested, I believe it was the 23rd of June. What do you make of the amount of time it took from the morning that they arrive at this house to now being in a situation where both parents have been arrested?
I mean, I think it doesn't surprise me that it took that long.
Shit,
There's
man.
a
I'm
lot
from
of
Maryland,
stuff that goes
dog.
with this. Again, we're not trying to prove a neglect charge. That pretty much proves itself. We're trying to prove
How
a
about
murder
you?
charge. So you're going to need everything, and you know they're not going anywhere. You know where they are. You've removed
DMV,
He's got a
shorty.
shot now, maybe at being healthy again.
You said
and
Netherlands?
living a normal life.
What the fuck?
But you better make sure you got all your
Wow.
ducks in a row so you can get that murder case charged. So it doesn't surprise me it took that long.
What's up, dog?
And then just when it comes to, as
Big
someone who's
homie.
investigated, you know, hoarding case, neglect cases, because it goes to this overall question.
I heard they got some good fried chicken out the Netherlands, the Dutch. I'm hip to the Amish, you know. I'm very well versed. You feel me? Nah, you said the gas. Wow. I gotta go out there. What's the food like though? I'm a food connoisseur.
Something that we can effectively answer, but still, like, how does something like this happen? How does a home get to this point? Like, what have you seen in your career, like a neglect case like this? How does it get to the point, even for this one, as unique and terrible as it may be, how does a home get into the condition that apparently this one was in Flint Township, Michigan?
It didn't start 7 years ago. It didn't start 5 years ago when they had these kids. This is something that's been going on for a long time.
Yeah, that's their lifestyle. Talk about did it start 7 years ago. He been living like this for a while. I want to see their whole family tree for real. I want to see what his parents look like. I want to see what her parents look like. I want to see the receipts If they have it from the credit cards, what they was getting with the baby food, I want to see all that shit. I want to see their DoorDashes. I want to see their Uber Eats. I want to see their grocery receipts. Shit.
To accumulate that much junk, that much garbage, it was going on long before that. So those kids were born into
I
that
don't know.
environment. And it only gets worse. It doesn't get better. But it's not something that took 7 years. It took longer than that.
Because what do you make of the fact that he does seem, I'm not going to say he was healthy. I mean, I don't know his medical records, Casper's, but like in 2022, 2023, he looks like a big kid. And then you have this 2-year period where suddenly he has gained weight, which like just defies what you think would even be possible for someone that young.
I know that she said something about, well, his diet consisted of or sparkling soda and potato chips. It's not possible. The amount of calories you have to pump into a body, and then you get to a certain weight where you need X amount of calories to maintain that weight. I don't know what was going on in that house, but good Lord.
You actually bring up a really good point because in the police report, I think what they allege is like a large bag of potato chips, a large fry, and then this like ice water, but it's like sugary carbonated soda pretty much. And it's like that just still doesn't add up to hit that particular weight. Like it just seems like there has to be more there.
You would have to have a constant drip of carbonated sugar soda, almost like an IV, to put that many calories in your body to gain that kind of weight. It's got to be forced. It's almost like force feeding. I can't imagine anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, they was stuffing him like a pig, sadly. But there's Long Crime. Everybody know that channel. I'm gonna catch y'all on the flip. Hey, KK, I fuck with you, man. Shout out to Netherlands. Hey, I'm gonna be back on later today, though. No cap.